I would be lying if I said I thought I was going to be making this beat report, but somehow, someway, the New York Red Bulls have advanced to round one of the Audi MLS Cup playoffs in 2023 by way of the wild card on a insane 34th match day of the year on decision day. JMI Tolkien, the 21-year-old homegrown, scores a penalty to send the Red Bulls to the wild card round in a home game where they go on to defeat Charlotte FC by a score of 5-2 at Red Bull Arena on Wednesday. I'm James Burley for WFUV Sports. I've had the privilege of covering the New York Red Bulls all season long for the second year in a row with WFUV, and for most of this year, things weren't going the Red Bulls' way. Only for the final 2 minutes of the regular season were they above the playoff line in Major League Soccer, and they ended up qualifying for the playoffs by the skin of their teeth in 8th place in the Eastern Conference. And that's good enough to host the first match of the playoffs in the wild card game. They hosted Charlotte FC, who also just made it by the skin of their teeth, beating Inter Miami on the final match day of the season as well to send them to the playoffs. But the Red Bulls' dramatic fashion, getting the win over Nashville in the final moments of that match, gave them the home match in 8th place to Charlotte's 9th, and that home field advantage really made a big difference, knowing what Charlotte can produce with their home crowd. The Red Bulls ultimately jumped out to the best start they've had all season long, scoring 3 goals and a half for just the second time all year, and the first time at home since August of 2022. It was a barrage of goals coming from key pieces too. Elias Manuel getting a first half brace. He just loves scoring against Charlotte. He would eventually turn that into a hat trick in the second half. He scored 6 goals in 4 career appearances against Charlotte FC, 6 goals out of 9 career goals for the Red Bulls. He scored 2/3 of his goals against the Crown. It's absolutely ridiculous what he's done, but his 2 goals were sandwiched between an absolutely ridiculous free kick from John Tolkien, who continues to look so good. JMI would also get an assist on Manuel's second, and into the second half, Charlotte, knowing they needed to come back into the match, really turned some heads with Kerwin Vargas' 48th minute bicycle kick. That was just simply spectacular. Straight off the training ground with their set-piece routine, Swiderski knocking it across, and then Vargas with just a sensational bicycle kick, the likes of which I've never gotten to see in person. So that was certainly a first for me. But the Red Bulls would respond just 7 minutes later through Tom Barlow, being assisted once again by JMI Tolkien, and Barlow gets his second career MLS Cup playoffs goal, his first since 2019 when he scored in that loss to the Philadelphia Union away on the road in the first round of the playoffs. And then eventually Charlotte would come back into it. Patrick Aguimang, who actually scored against Fordham University for URI last year. Nick Guzman got to call that game on ESPN+. He comes back and scores again in the New York area, this time in Major League Soccer for Charlotte. He just bulldozed his way through the Red Bulls back line, bodying Andres Reyes and Kyle Duncan before just steamrolling it into the back of the net, cutting the lead in half, making it 4-2. But that wasn't enough, because the Red Bulls would respond once again, Luquinhas finding Elias Manuel in behind for what would be his 3rd goal of the match. Just the 6th ever hat trick in MLS Cup playoffs history, and the first in Red Bulls playoff history. It ended up being a great team performances with a few blemishes defensively in that second half. The Red Bulls haven't looked that good all year long, certainly not in the attack. It was the most free-flowing that we've seen the Red Bulls in quite a while, and a lot of it flows through that man, JMI Tolkien, who is just such a big piece for this team. Not only his personality, but the way he plays the game invites so much attention, and it makes everybody around them seem to enjoy the game just a little bit more. I asked Troy Lesane about this development in JMI's game and how it's affected the rest of the team in just the most crucial time of the year. Take a listen.
Thanks, Coach. JMI talks a lot about playing his best when he's enjoying the soccer, enjoying the football. And it looked like a lot more free-flowing than we're used to seeing from just about everybody today. Would you say that his enjoyment has carried over to the rest of the guys, and it's something that's become collective now?
Yeah, J-Mize, I've heard this quote before, and it really applies to him. J-Mize is like a light bulb that's in a room, and he's as bright as he can be, and he's not even plugged in. I mean, he's just walking around, and he's just shining bright. I mean, he doesn't need energy, this guy. He's constantly bright all the time, and it's something that absolutely transfers to every single player, every single coach. He's a guy you want to be around. It's really, really special to coach him. I'm happy to see him score goals, get assists, and I think that it's our job as a staff to put him in the right position to take care of or take advantage of all his talents. So yeah, it's fun coaching him, and I'm glad that he's enjoying his football right now, because that means we're enjoying our football.
The Red Bulls really have gotten hot right at the right time. People were waiting all season long for their advanced statistics to turn into goals, to turn into wins, and only in the last 4 or 5 matches of the season did it really come that way. They went into the playoffs winning 4 of their last 5, winning 3 in a row in the final stretch, and then they couple that with that 5-2 win over Charlotte. They have a lot of momentum going into what will be arguably the toughest match they'll ever have in this playoffs, and the Supporter Shield winning FC Cincinnati, who await them in the first round. And they've played 3 great games already this season in what will be a 3-game series in the playoffs. MLS playoff formats love to be weird and love to be different, but the Red Bulls should have a lot to be excited about. Against Cincinnati this year, they kicked off that great run to end the regular season with a 2-1 win away to Cincinnati just days after they had won the Supporter Shield. And in the 2 matches that they played at home, they lost in penalties in the Open Cup and on a 93rd minute Abino winner. So they've played 3 incredibly close matches already this season, and with the Red Bulls coming in with the form that they have, there's no reason for them to be confident. Plus, they're being doubted once again at this point, and even though they haven't had a great season, they're fully acknowledging that this season wasn't good enough. So they're, in a sense, playing with house money going up against the heavily favorited FC Cincinnati, who just a couple seasons ago were perennial wooden spoon candidates, and now they are the class of not only Eastern Conference, but Major League Soccer. The Red Bulls will be in action in Game 1 of Round 1 against FC Cincinnati, the 8th seed versus the 1st seed in the East, on Sunday at 8 p.m. Of course, you can catch that on Apple TV's MLS Season Pass before next week they come home against FC Cincinnati, but this time at Red Bull Arena for the second time of the playoffs this year. We weren't sure we were going to get any playoff matches at all, but instead we've been blessed with at least another home game. So they'll have at least 2 more matches at Red Bull Arena after the regular season, and at least 2 more matches in round 1. Potentially, they could force Game 3 if they get a result either on the road to Cincinnati or at home, but it's going to take a lot against that tough of a team. But the Red Bulls should enjoy that they've even gotten here in the first place, and should be even more excited if they can somehow keep this run going. For WFUV Sports, I'm James Burley. I'll see you guys next time.